next speaker we would like to welcome up here is Karcher. Dana is a project developer and market manager for Davey Resource Group, and this is a good time for us to acknowledge and thank Davey Resource Group for sponsoring our event. Without the funding from Davey, we would not have been able to put this on for you guys for free. So thank you, Dana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm walking a little gingerly. I took a bike ride on Saturday. I did 30 miles. And when I got off my bike, I was bent like this, and I haven't been able to stand straight yet. I don't know what I did. I'm thinking there's a nexus between age, miles, and right there is the point where I should have stopped. But I didn't. Jeffrey, thank you so much. My favorite part, I've seen that because I saw it in Seattle too. My favorite part, though, that entertains me greatly is your cartoons. I wish I could do my own cartoons like that. The fact that you said that trees are essential infrastructure, to me, is what I live for. I'm passionate about trees. Like Nancy, I feel frustrated. I don't know, Jocelyn, I don't know you, but I've been fighting that battle for a long time. And I used to be on the Air Pollution Control District. I was on the Citizens Advisory Committee for San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. And nobody in here works for APCD, right? If you did, thank you for being here, but mostly it's like this, blah, 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 right? They don't want to hear about trees. So it's a battle we continue to fight, and I think it's a good fight. With science like what Jeffrey's doing, Vivek Chandas, Rich Hauer, there's all kinds of great research out there, and I encourage you to go to www.ufei.org. Make sure I got the right one. It's the Urban Forestry Ecosystems Institute. It's through Cal Poly. They put a lot of research up on that website, so you'll know what's going on. Plant trees, it's something we can really do. Thank you. Yeah, we can plant trees, and there's some of us who put a lot of trees in the ground in the valley. I want to acknowledge Modesto. How many people are here from Modesto? Sweet grant you guys got. Really nice, and I know you're going to hear a little bit about some of the grants that are coming up. They're excited about what they're doing. Trees are a matter of life and death. For me, they pay my bills. That's a matter of life and death for me. For some of you too who work in the trees, great. I think you do a great job. We've got a lot going on in the valley. I'm just going to touch on very few things, a little bit of a road trip. Some of you are going to hear more in depth later, but a little bit about some of the things that are going on. Sometimes I feel a little bit like we live in a vacuum here. I live in Bakersfield. According to that sheet, I live in Atascadero, but I don't. I live in Bakersfield. I've been in the valley for 22 years. Actually, I've been in San Joaquin Valley for 22 years. Before that, I was 5 years in Sacramento, which, if everybody says that they think the San Joaquin Valley is the part that's under the bridge when you drive through Sacramento, they forget about us down here sometimes, the politicians. So I'm not supposed to be negative, but I'm supposed to be funny. Here we go. Well, we'll talk a little bit about some tree planting and some tree management, because you know what? You put all those trees in the ground, guess what? You got to take care of them. That's important. Talk a tiny bit about technology and what's happening with technology in the valley. A little bit about where some expertise is that you can find, and something a little bit about advocacy, which is really important, because without advocacy, we would not have gotten $17 million last year for our urban forestry program. There's a conference that comes up every year. It's called the Partners in Community Forestry Conference. This year it happens to be in Denver. And last year, I think Nancy and I were sitting together when we were in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the shout out to California for the work that was done here to get 17 million, and now we're going to get more. Darla, are you talking about that? Okay, I don't want to steal your thunder. So there we are. We're starting in Bakersfield, the south end of the valley. Some of the best air quality in the country right there, isn't it? Well, actually, it's down there in Oregon, as we all know. And you guys have one air quality station. I think we have them every 3 feet. We monitor our air. The science is rough, you're right. But we do have some real air quality issues down in Bakersfield, as you know. I've been involved in Bakersfield urban forestry for about, I moved there. My 22-year-old I was pregnant with my 22-year-old and planted trees with her on my back when she was an infant. That's how long I've been in urban forestry, because it's hot there. It's really hot there. It's just, you guys know that. And we need trees. So I started planting trees there a long time ago. This is Chester Avenue. This is the main drag down Bakersfield. They used to cruise it in the 60s and 70s. They probably still do, but I try not to go out that late at night anymore. But Chester Avenue has a great streetscape. Although it's looking a little rough, needs a little more water, but we'll get there. We're excited about the opportunity for a little bit of El Nino precipitation. I know you all are too. This is an EEMP grant, Environmental Enhancement Mitigation Program. These grants come and go in California. If you don't know what they are, you can Google them. And we use this to actually really bring this street up to a new level. It was controversial because most businesses don't want street trees in front of their businesses if they've never had one before. So the good news was that we told them that it would get better if they grew. I did the same kind of street tree planting in Taft, California. The biggest complaint there was that the signs would be blocked on the buildings, so we actually asked City Council to change their sign ordinance so that they could have signs that were perpendicular and also use those A-frame signs on the sidewalk if they didn't impede until the trees grew up. Simple solution, really simple solution. Bakersfield has done Prop 12 grants, which were a long time ago, Prop 40 grants, Prop 84 grants. So they've done a lot to plant a lot of trees in Bakersfield. They don't have a current inventory, so I can't tell you how many trees that they have, but I suspect they manage around 100,000 trees. Actually, I'll take that back. They don't manage 100,000 trees because they only manage their park trees. They don't manage their street trees in Bakersfield. So they have really reached out for a lot of really great programs there. The Kern River Parkway Foundation and the Tree Foundation of Kern have done a lot there. The Kern River Parkway Foundation has built whole parks, and together, the last project I did when I was with the Tree Foundation of Kern was to build a memorial grove. And I rode my bike, I hadn't seen it for a while, because usually I ride the other way, but on our bike path, which is covered with trees that actually are all granted trees. But anyway, I went by it and it's just fabulous. It's a really lovely place of peacefulness, and we put in about 100 trees, and it's maintained by school children. The other thing that happened in Bakersfield, which was really fun, was a really great advocacy program. Is anybody talking about Invest from the Ground Up? So Invest from the Ground Up, you've gotten some materials from Invest from the Ground Up, but this is a project with California Urban Forest Council with a whole bunch of other partners. And I strongly suggest you Google it, go online and take a look. There's some fabulous videos there, and you can take a look to see what trees provide. This is a stencil. I ruined a pair of Birkenstocks with this stencil. We did, that's chalk paint, so it's supposed to come off in the rain, and guess what? It hasn't rained. So these are all still downtown. How long has it been? 18 months? About that? So there's a lot of these that are still downtown. So I was down there with the Tree Foundation of Kern, the executive director. Her name is Melissa Iger, and another volunteer, and we were stenciling on the sidewalks with this. This would be a great place for a tree, because there are places down there where you get a sunburn just walking from the coffee shop to the office. And people came out, and people were watching us, and people asked us, when do we get our tree? We had people calling City Council saying, are you putting trees in? We're so excited. It really made a lot of talk. Then the drought came, and everybody stopped talking. But I would love to go back and do it again, because I think that it would just be really important for people to see that there are places where we can actually put some trees in the ground. And with the grants coming up, I'm trying not to steal your thunder, Darla, but with the grants coming up, more grants, there's the possibility of taking out cement. So that would be one of the big, deals. And I don't know about, in Modesto, it's probably a lot like Bakersfield, where there's infrastructure that has filled in the big squares where there used to be trees, right? So you can see them there and you go, oh, right? So at some point there was irrigation. At some point there was, there was a tree there. So kind of trying to reclaim those spaces. And Invest from the Ground Up really got downtown talking about things, and they're actually working on a plan right now with a landscape architect firm called Placeworks. And I've been advocating and screaming at Placeworks, because they just want to put more crepe myrtles in, that big trees provide more benefits. So we're working on that. City of Shafter. Bakersfieldians go through Shafter to get to the beach. It's important, town. But actually it's got a lot going on there. It's a great little city, probably one of the most well-managed cities in California. The recession just went on by them, and they really did a good job there. But one of the things that they did many years ago was this. That's 12 miles of trees. Now, not everybody's happy about this, but that's 12 miles of trees that were granted to the city a long time ago. I would say that if you did the study that Joaquin did along that road, I would think that you would see some air quality savings there. It's a mixture of species, a lot of Chinese elms, there's valley oaks in there, a lot of sycamores. There was some raywood ash that have the dieback issue. There's some regular ash. This is all before we knew about emerald ash borer, so we don't want to be planting ash trees right now. But it's a great little planting. The controversy is that sometimes people drive into the trees and then they have to replace it. They take a little bit of work. But it definitely is a beautiful gateway to this little city that's in between I-5 and the 99. Visalia. Visalia. How many of you have ever heard of the Urban Tree Foundation? Yeah, good. Brian Kemp, does that ring a bell? Many of you have been trained by Brian in terms of, yeah. So Visalia, actually, I toured Visalia a long time ago, and their assistant city manager at the time was telling us about how trees changed the downtown. And I said that about Bakersfield, and I'm saying that about Visalia. I think there's a theme here. Trees can change downtowns. They did quite a bit of work there with some grant funding, and Brian Kemp is the little engine that could. A man is amazing, and not only that, he does things very much on a scientific basis. The tree cue cards, and this is a picture of actually, this is from the UFI website. I think you can also get the tree cue cards off the Western Chapter ISA website, www.wcisa.net. You can get them there. They were funded by a bunch of different people, but they're really great little cards. I used to carry them in my car, and when the tree trimmers, I don't even call them that, I would call them the tree butchers of Bakersfield would be out there, I would hand them this card and say, take a look at this. One side was English, one side was Spanish. It was great. Try and get that word out about how to take care of trees. Brian is an amazing resource for this valley. So if I was taking a trip up the valley and you were thinking about where you're going to get some good information, I would call Brian. Brian's given a big presentation at the International Society of Arboriculture Conference with his colleague, I just forgot his name.
Gilman?
Thank you, Ed Gilman, Dr. Gilman. But they've worked together on a lot of tree trimming opportunities. They're not big at taking a lot off trees. They want to make sure that the tree grows up properly, structurally. So Modesto, you're going to be planting a lot of trees according to your grant. The young tree maintenance is going to be really important because in the future, it'll be less work for you if you take care of them in the first 3 years of their life. And one place that I did not put on my slideshow because I kind of forgot about it, I woke up last night and went, oh, well, Porterville is the home of the Western Chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture, in case you didn't know that. So who's a certified arborist in the room? Okay, so that's our home. That's where the chapter is based, and that's kind of a nice thing for us. We don't get a lot of workshops here. We work on trying to get them here, but Western Chapter is based in Porterville, and that's another great place for good information. Clovis. I love Clovis. What a great little town. It's been around a long time. Everybody thinks that Clovis is a brand new town. Well, they have all brand new trees, but it's not a brand new town. So they did 3 granted projects that were all from grants from the state of California. The first thing that they did was a tree inventory. They did a GIS tree inventory and put it into a software system so that they're managing their trees through a software system that they own and that they can use day in and day out. They've also, I think I've heard, put some other things into the software system as well so that they can see what work needs to be done, they can develop their work orders, and that's really important. Technology is important, so when you're putting your trees in the ground, you know where they are. GIS is important. So Clovis did this first. It's the very first thing that they did. Then from that, they did a resource analysis, or how many have heard of iTree? Okay, iTree is really good. If you don't know iTree, www.itree.com. Helps you really understand the benefits that trees provide. And the last project that they got granted was an urban forest management plan, and I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. So when they did their inventory, they found some things out. It's really important to know what's going on with your trees. So if you look at this, and I don't know if you can see that the top line, their #1 tree is, guess what? Crepe myrtle. Okay, when you're planting trees for air quality issues, you want to plant the biggest tree you can. Those are great decoration next to the palms in front of City Hall, right? They make it look beautiful and make you want to come there, but they're not providing significant benefits. So that's one of the things they found out, is they're planting way too many crepe myrtles, and they had no idea. So they kind of removed it from the, it's okay to plant this tree list. When I first started in urban forestry, the state urban forester used to just scream about how many crepe myrtles we planted throughout the state. And I think we've really gotten off the bandwagon on that. They take too long to get big. They're beautiful, but they take too long to get big. So if we go back to that first slide that I showed you in Bakersfield, the first 2 trees in the median were always crepe myrtles. And then it lit up to big trees. And that was done on purpose so you could see the stoplights, right? So think about what you're planting where. They have good luck with Chinese pistache, but they have too many coast redwoods, right? That's, the word is coast. Yeah, we shouldn't be planting them here, but we do. Unless when Darla was the forester here, we didn't. If you had a grant, we didn't do that. But they're missing a lot of the big things, like in their top 10 trees, they don't have valley oak. It's called valley oak for a reason. It's from here. It does very well here. So unless you do your inventory, you don't know what you have. So Clovis did a really good job here. They have a really good.
Are these 3 trees not park trees or public?
This was all trees. All trees. And I can't remember how many trees they had.
Private trees or?
No, not private trees, yeah. All public trees. The state won't pay for a private tree inventory unless they pay for an IECO, which isn't really an inventory.
Well, we just have to have access to the property.
Yeah.
A lot of private property owners won't give the state won't give them access.
Yeah.
They did one in Portland, the whole city of Portland, public and private.
Yeah, they did an iTree eco study there, is what they did. And in fact, in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii, there was a project that was done called Urban FIA. If you have a forestry background, FIA stands for Forest Inventory Analysis. Every 5 years, the entire country is done, okay? When they get to an urban area, they throw out the plot. So there's these non-permanent plots that are done through GIS. Well, a guy in Oregon, Paul Rees, he wrote a grant and said, let's see what's really going on in the urban areas. And so went back in and did that. That's how we can work on benefits. Trying to find the benefits of trees are really important. So that's when you want to do a backyard kind of study. Canopy studies can also give you that kind of backyard information as well. And then you're not invading anybody's space, just, it's from outer space. And then the other graphic just really kind of tells you what kind of trees that they have, whether they're broadleaf and whether they're small or large. So they've got 20% broadleaf deciduous small, and then they've got 29% broadleaf deciduous medium. They've got a lot of deciduous trees, which is fine if they're planted correctly, because you want them to be able to drop their leaves so that the sun comes in the wintertime. Those are just some examples of what can come out of it. Then they did their iTree analysis. So iTree helps determine determines the benefits that trees provide. These include aesthetic and socioeconomic benefits, carbon uptake, carbon reduction, energy savings, stormwater uptake, and air quality. And when the drought first started about 3 or 4 years ago, when we first started getting an inkling that we were going to have a problem for the next 5 years, no one was skiing, there was no snowpack, we were having issues. I can remember that one of the quotes that the newspaper said to me, well, we should stop planting trees. And I said, no, because when California breaks a drought, we break it, with these El Nino, And although I know the drought will not be because we're not going to get the snow, but we're going to get these rains that we're used to. Had we been planting 4 years ago, these trees would be bigger and they would have helped absorb some of this stormwater that's coming our way. So I'm a big advocate of continuing to plant trees through this situation and finding our water to do this. So the iTree says that for every $1 invested in public trees, Clovis receives $2.40 in benefits, and that's what iTree does. It's a free software system that allows you to put information through it, and it comes back out with benefits that are monetary. Anybody here on a city council? Okay, city council people want to know this kind of stuff. What's it worth? What's it bringing to my community in a monetary value? This is very important to them. This is partly why iTree was developed. It was actually developed mostly up at UC Davis, and now is managed throughout the country, and actually in England and in South America as well. So it's gaining a worldwide foothold too. And so iTree is super important to put hand in hand with your inventory or with your management plan. Another example of in the Sacramento Valley, Roseville's was for every dollar they spent, they got $3.84 back in benefits. They have a lot of big oak trees in Roseville. They do all their mitigation on their oaks is done back out to an open space, which is all those trees were counted in their inventory. So these benefits are really kind of important. And then the last thing that they did was an urban forest management plan. And they take the information that they got from their inventory, and they take the information that they got from their iTree Streets analysis or their resource analysis, and then they really work to get input on what they want to do. What's the future of their trees look like? And CAL FIRE funded this grant as well, and I think that is it a 25-year or a 20-year? I can't remember, there was a number that was...
Oh, I don't remember. It's supposed to be tied to the general or the master plan, so that it doesn't just get put on a shelf and then it has to be revisited and updated. And I want to think it was...
I know minimum 20 years.
I think
Minimum
it's
20 years.
40-year plan, I think is what it was.
So the idea is that really, you're going to plant all these trees, or you're going to manage your trees, or you're going to inventory your trees. What are you going to do next? How are you going to maintain them? What kind of budget does the city need to come up with? But most importantly with a management plan, I think, is about who cares. So with Clovis, they did community meetings, and a good urban forest master plan or management plan, they are not the same thing, but a good plan should include the public, always. And whether they care or not is something you'll find out. If they don't care about the trees in your community, then you can just continue to plan the way you want, but you'll find that most people do care about the trees in the community. So this just happens to be a graph of the importance of public services and amenities as we surveyed the residents, and this is what we found out. So we find out things of what the resident thinks are important, are very important. We also look at the city's culture. There's a city in Southern California, Santa Monica, where it's all about the trees. All about the trees. That's their culture. In other cities, it's not that big of a deal. Also, you tie science into your master plan, or your urban forest master plan. Tying iTree in there is really important. And then also, just a real quick mention, in the valley, we do have a lot of ash trees. We do Raywood ash, and we do, of course, our Modesto ash, which we all replaced with green ash or Arizona ash. And so now we're dealing with a high ash population actually in the Central Valley. And so part of our urban forest master plan in this valley is what are you going to do with your ash trees? Because if you think it's not coming, it is coming. That bug is coming. And you saw that picture in Toledo, Ohio. When they found it in Boulder, they were absolutely blown away. Absolutely blown away. It skipped the whole state of Kansas. So it's in Kansas City, Missouri is where it was first found, and then it crossed the border over to Kansas City, Kansas, and then it skipped the whole state and went to Colorado. And to share a little story about how different it is in the Midwest than it is here, my husband and I went camping in Missouri, and the reason we went there is our daughter went to the school at University of Missouri, so we went camping. And when we checked into the campground, we flew there, by the way, we didn't drive, we flew there. The first question the woman asked us was, do you have any firewood in your car? This is the most important thing. We don't even talk about firewood in California that much. We really should start talking about it, because it is coming. So that's just a fair warning. We have a lot of ash trees in the Central Valley, and we probably need to take care of them. My good friends from Atwater are not here, but Atwater's got a lot going on. They have a super, super strong nonprofit there called the Atwater Tree Partners, Tree Partners Foundation. And I wish they would have been here because we would have stood and given them a great big hand. They really worked with the school district to start there, and they found the importance of trees at schools. They had learned that that was very important. So, we talk about trees along the 99 as an air quality issue, but trees at schools are also really important to help keep students healthy. So they worked, they had a little inroad there. The man and the woman who started the Atwater's Tree Partners, actually she was on the school board, and so she saw this as a positive thing. They built a nursery at the prison there, at the large prison there, and they decided that they were going to grow trees that fit their needs and other nonprofits as well, so that they were growing trees for other areas. Unfortunately, the wardens changed. They lost some funding, but they're going back in there and doing a lot of really good work. In addition to that, they have a really good relationship with City Council. So they advocated with their city, which had to lay off their urban forester, and their public works director is the one who is their interim public works director, helps manage their trees. They actually went in and did an inventory, and their super supportive City Council came back and said, okay, go ahead and apply for a grant for an urban forest master plan, and they did get that. So they're on their way to more things. So in the Valley, we got a number of grants here in the last round, which are pretty exciting. So Atwater, small town, big vision, and they're doing great things there. And the group there is Tree Partners? I can't remember.
Tree Partners Foundation.
Tree Partners Foundation. So Google them. They're doing great stuff, and they've got some good answers. Now, I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder here, because these guys are in the room. But also, I posted this picture like this on Facebook, and everybody's like, where is this? I go, this is the prettiest little city hall. I just love going there. So anyway, they also did a tree inventory, and they're managing their trees through their software. But I'm going to let you tell their story a little bit, because they've got a nice story to tell. But great little city between I-5 and off the I-5 and the 99, doing great things, growing more than apricots, I think. Stockton has done some amazing things. So they were doing a tree inventory. They had gotten a grant for a tree inventory, and they're working through there. And they knew their grant wasn't going to cover the amount of trees that they have. So their first grant was $200,000. And then we all know what happened to Stockton. They went bankrupt. So they went bankrupt, and the first phone call that I get, because my company was doing the inventory there, are they going to pay their bills? I had to explain California law, that the vendors get paid first, and I had to just explain because our company's based in Ohio. I called them up and said, you guys doing all right? They said, well, we dug up another $250,000. We want you to finish this inventory. In bankruptcy. Okay. I asked why, right? I asked why. What is the mindset behind that? Well, trees are an asset. We've got to know where they are. We've got to be proactive in taking care of them, because otherwise we will never, ever get ahead of this game. I think that's big forward thinking for a city that has struggled greatly. So I'm proud to call them a client, and I'm sad that they were unable. They applied for another grant, but they had to pull it because of the drought. They didn't want to plant the trees, but they're going to try again. I was amazed. So, like I said, lots going on. Modesto's got tree planting coming up in a big way. There's lots of management activities going on throughout the valley. There's inventory software, strategic planning going on, education, and most importantly, I think, advocacy. One of the things I think that you should know is your resources are right here. We don't have to go down to Southern California anymore to find out what everybody's doing down there. And we don't have to go to Northern California to find out what everybody's doing there. These people are in this room now, okay? Are in this room now, or wanted to be in this room now, to help define what's going on and how they have the win-win stories. How did you get City Council to apply for an EMP grant in Bakersfield when the Downtown Business Association said no trees? How is that story? How have these places used science, used all the science that researchers like Jeffrey are doing? How do they use that science to make things happen for them? So I am proud to say that I am from Bakersfield, and I'm proud to say that I've gotten to help on a lot of these projects, and I hope that you find some inspiration in this as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
www.itreetools,
Oh, that's right, tools.
all one word, .org.
Yeah, itreetools.org. Any questions? Comments? Thank you all for listening.